They said it would never happen. They said it was impossible. There was no way you would ever see Luke making FPL videos again. And I'm here to tell those people, you were wrong. You were wrong to ever say that about me, even though I sort of said it myself. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking FPL. Blank game weeks, double game weeks, and the boring weeks that are in between. What's going on, everyone? This is Luke and welcome back to another video. And that's right, today we are going to be talking FPL. I've been receiving a lot of questions from people asking me when I'm going to do another FPL video. I'm getting odd comments here and there saying do another FPL video. So I thought, yeah, I do want to do them. But as I said in my Q&A video, which not many of you saw, me doing FPL videos doesn't offer very much value to me. I enjoy making them and I appreciate that some people enjoy watching them, but I am in some high value buy-in leagues. There's a few £1,000s on the line for me if I can win my leagues, and because I'm top or second in almost all of them that are competitive for money, it puts me at a major disadvantage because I know people in those leagues see my videos, or at least some of them do, and some of them are already pretty good players at FPL. So the fact that I don't get to see what their plans are, but they get to see what my plans are, puts me at a disadvantage. But I thought, you know what, I'm bored. What the hell? We've got some stuff to talk about, so let's talk about it. What I will say before we move on is that I do have a brand new channel. It's linked down in the description below. I think a lot of you will hopefully like it at least. It's something that is going to be my main focus for 2019, so I'd really love it if you could check out the video that I've linked down in the description below after you've watched this one, of course. I do think you'll enjoy it. I'll put it in the end screen at the end of this video as well. So that's enough plug-in for that one. And we'll get stuck into the double game week discussion right now. Talking about strategies and stuff for these weeks, one thing that I've got to say is that I thought it was really strange that some people criticised some of the more public, well-known figures in the FPL space for not letting people know that they were planning on using their triple captain chip in that week. Or perhaps they'd suggested that they might use it, but they never confirmed that they were going to. Now, these people put a lot of time and effort into giving out tips. They do it pretty much all for free. I know some of them make money via Patreon and via other methods as well. But people are putting a lot of time into putting out tips for you to make the most of. They're telling you the strategies to use, the best tactics, the best timings, the best players, the stats, and everything to go with it. It's on you to put that into practice. They're not there to pick your fucking team. There's no point in you playing the game if you want someone else to pick the team for you, to pick the chips on whatever weeks for you. You have to make some decisions, so I just wanted to get that off my chest. And with that in mind, I did play my triple captain in game week 25. So in game week 25, I did use my triple captain chip on Raheem Sterling. A good start, not so much with a lot of people bringing Aguero in, who I don't own, and a lot of people did well from him. He did blank in the second game, as did Sané, who was a big positive for me because I was tossing up between Sterling and Sané, so eventually I went for Sterling. Although I took Hazard out, who scored 15 points, it was a net positive, kind of. I was going to captain Salah if I didn't take Hazard out. So Salah only got 2 points, Hazard got 15, that would have been 17 points. I ended up with 35 between Sterling and Salah, with Salah triple captained, but I would have still had the triple captain to use. I guess we'll wait and see whether that would have still ended up profitable. I'm not sure, but it is the first time I think that I've actually had a triple captain get some points. I remember Harry Kane getting 3 points for me, but bringing Sterling in for Hazard has put me in a slightly tricky position as we approach game week 27, the first blank game week of the season. As we already know, Man City, Everton, Chelsea will blank in this game week, and I do have 2 Man City players and I have 2 Everton players. I also have Kamara on the bench, which leaves me with 5 players that won't play in game week 27. But I am planning on trying to save a transfer for game week 26 if I can, in order to be the most flexible going into game week 27, because we will know more about the future fixtures as well at that time. So it is really important if you can save a transfer in game week 26 so that you've got 2 in game week 27. That is really important. But I am also really fucking tempted to do David Silva to Son from Spurs, and I don't think I'm going to be able to avoid that temptation. As we already know, I've already used my triple captain, and I am planning on using free transfers in game week 27, obviously, and all the way leading up to game week 31. In game week 31, I'm hoping to have 8 or 9 players that play in the first big blank game week of the season. I don't think I'm going to get a full team out, especially with the sorts of transfers that I'm looking at. I'm going to try and avoid taking hits wherever possible. At the moment, I've got David De Gea in goal, who looks almost certain to blank in that week. I'm not going to be taking a hit to bring in a goalkeeper, so that already leaves me with 10. And I don't think it's the end of the world if you can't field a full team in 31. There are other strategies, but in this video, we're going to be obviously talking about my strategy because, well, this is my channel. So I'm using free transfers up until game week 31. I'm then going to be wildcarding in game week 32, but the game week 32 team that I'm going to be wildcarding to is mainly in preparation for game week 35. I hope to have 11 double game week players in game week 32, and I'm hoping to have 15, or at least close to 15, double game week players for game week 35. So it's a bit of forward planning there. By wildcarding in game week 32, you're going to have hopefully 15 players for in 3 or 4 game weeks time that you can then bench boost and see massive results from having 15 players play twice. And yes, a lot of people will often say there's so much rotation at that time of the season, you're never going to get 15 players playing twice, so what's the point? You may as well just use it in a single game week. Well, you're right, you're probably not going to get all of your players being fortunate enough to play 90 minutes twice, but you're giving yourself the chance of it happening at least. You're going to pick up 120 minutes played probably as opposed to just 90. That already gives you an advantage in the points department, and that doesn't even consider the fact that they might score more goals or assist more goals or keep more clean sheets. So I always favour trying to have 15 double game week players, with the exception of maybe someone like Salah. I will probably still try to keep Salah in my team, depending on what's happening in the league, and depending what's happening in the Champions League as well, because the title race, we are very fortunate this season that the title race is so close, because it means that people can't really be rested that much. You know that Liverpool are going to want the Premier League title so badly, so they're going to be pretty unlikely to start resting players, in my opinion, unless one of the teams falls away. So after I've wildcarded in game week 32, I'm then going to be free hitting in game week 33, which is another blank game week, potentially a big one, because if you prepare your game week 31 team and then wildcard to a double game week team, you're then stuck again in game week 33. This is what I mentioned in a previous video, that your season's probably over if you've already used your free hit. It's not technically over, but you're not going to do that well. So I'm then going to free hit in game week 33 so that I can then field a blank game week team again. And I've seen some people talking about team value in this situation. If you wildcard out those players in game week 32 or 31, whenever you're thinking of wildcarding, you might not be able to afford to get them back in 33. I think this is a very unlikely scenario because the players that play in game week 33 mostly are going to be from the worst teams in the league, the cheaper teams. So you're not going to struggle to have enough money to spend. You're probably going to comfortably have enough money to spend. So I'm not really too worried about, say, perhaps getting rid of Salah in my wildcard team and losing 0.5, 0.6, whatever he's at now, and then having to bring him back, because I don't think I'm going to struggle to afford the other players to go around him. And obviously then, after that free hit in game week 33, my wildcard team will be back for 34, which is just going to be a normal week, and then I'm going to bench boost in 35 in that double game week. I'm sure a lot of that will have been confusing for you. You may need to rewatch certain parts, I don't know, but the basics of it is this. I'm going to use free transfers all the way up until game week 31. I'm then going to wildcard in 32, free hit in 33, and bench boost in 35. If you still have your triple captain chip, which I don't really know when you're going to use it at this point. What you're really hoping for is for a third mini double game week for Chelsea. That's what you really need at this moment in time, and it could happen if Brighton go on to reach the next round of the FA Cup, I believe. You'll want to check that up following Ben Crellin on Twitter and using his spreadsheets. I'm sure most of you are already aware of him by now, but if you're not, then make sure you give him a follow. I'll actually drop his profile down in the description below because he's just such a useful person to follow, especially at this time of the season. I want to talk now about the transfers leading up to game week 31 because they've got to be quite specific. You really, or I really need to prioritise the teams that are playing in game week 31, but this doesn't give us much choice. Everyone is going to have 3 Liverpool players. That is obvious because at the moment, they're the only really good team that are actually playing in that week. The other teams that are playing with them, guaranteed to be playing at least, are West Ham, Huddersfield, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Burnley, Leicester and Fulham. That's a fair few teams, I know, so just to summarise the main teams there, you're probably going to be looking at midfielders and forwards from West Ham and from Bournemouth, and you're probably going to be looking at defenders from Newcastle, Burnley and Leicester. There's a couple of teams that I missed out there just because, let's be honest, they're shit. For all of the other teams, there is currently more than a 50% chance that each of them will be a blank. The most likely currently to not be a blank is Chelsea against Everton, but this would be a blank if Chelsea beat Man U in the FA Cup, which isn't that unlikely. If you don't have to get rid of so many Chelsea and Everton players, that's going to help a lot. And it's also going to help people to actually craft a better team for those weeks as well. You don't have to rely on so many mid-table or lower table teams. As for the other games from the teams that are in the FA Cup, in order for the teams to not blank, we're going to need a lower league team to knock out the Premier League team in the next round of the FA Cup. So Watford are playing QPR, Brighton are playing Derby, Wolves are playing Bristol City, Palace are playing Doncaster, and Man City are playing Newport County. Just to reiterate, we need the lower league team to beat the Premier League team if that Premier League team's fixture is to go ahead in game week 31. As for the likes of Arsenal and stuff, you're just relying on their corresponding fixtures FA Cup tie. Don't know if any of that made sense. The other things that we need to consider are the players that blank in game week 27. We need to be shifting those out as the priority, especially as I've obviously got the 4 players, 2 from Everton, 2 from City, and I've got Kamara as well. Probably prioritising Man City at this time just because Everton might not blank in game week 31, depending on if Chelsea can beat United in the Cup. But the other thing you need to figure out, I've obviously said prioritise players that do play in game week 31, but there are some very interesting players that probably won't play in 31. We don't know yet, but there's some very interesting players that may well outscore the person that you're looking at bringing in from the likes of West Ham or Bournemouth. The players I'm talking about is Son especially. Is Son going to outscore the likes of Fraser or Felipe Anderson over the coming weeks? He may well do. They've got some tough fixtures in there, but you've got to look at whether he will outscore them. Will he outscore them by more than 4 points? If so, you could potentially justify bringing players like that in and taking them out for a -4 for a player that is going to play in 31. These are the types of things that's going to take me a lot of time to work out. I'm really going to be looking at Aubameyang is another one. Is he going to outscore other strikers? I know a lot of people are looking at him, but again, he's unlikely to play in 31. Or can you just afford to use free transfers in your team? Have you got enough players that are already going to play in that week? If you have a high rank, it's unlikely that you do have enough players that are going to play in that week, just because currently the teams that aren't playing in that week haven't scored that many points recently, so you're probably not going to have too many of those players already. But if you do, then fair play, good planning, and good luck to you. I'm going to wrap the video up there. I will just finish it by telling you my overall rank at this time, which is 9,000th, or I'm just outside the top 9,000. So I'm having a good season at the moment, although I have just used my triple captainship. Once again, I've got a new channel. I've linked it down in the description below. I think it's quite an entertaining video, I hope at least. It's definitely been a lot less confusing and a lot less of a mindfuck than this video has. It's an easy watch, hopefully an enjoyable one. So I do hope that you go ahead and watch it and subscribe to that new channel as well. Let me know any of your thoughts regarding FPL, my strategy, your strategy, down in the comment section below. And if you do want to see more betting and football and FPL related videos in the future, then make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in another video.